As you can see, we're up to 7-2 quadratic formula. So this is a little different technique. We've got factoring, completing the square, and now quadratic formula. We'll talk about the need for knowing both completing the square and the quadratic formula during this. But for now, let's just get started. So as you see, you have what's called a trinomial here. And right now, you guys, you know how to factor things, but not all of them are factorable. You also know how to use completing the square, which you can use on any quadratic or any trinomial. But then you've got the quadratic formula, which you can also use on any trinomial. And that's what this is going to teach. So it says in general, there's an a in front of the squared term, a b in front of the single term, and then the c stands for constant, the number sitting by itself. So a is 2, b is 4, c is -7. But I want you to notice something. This is set equal to 0, and that is a rule. You can see this one is not set equal to 0. So the first thing you're going to have to do for this one is add 12t, add 12t. And then here we go, 5t squared plus 12t plus 8 equals 0. Here's my a, here's my b, here's my c. And literally, this is a plug and chug thing. You got this formula here, and here we go. So it says you take the opposite of b. So if b is 12, we're going to go -12 plus or minus, it's just in the formula, times the square root of b squared, which 12 squared is 144, minus 4 times a times c. You got to make your square root thing real long because there's a lot of stuff in there. And it's all over. Don't forget, this line goes underneath the -b as well. So don't forget to extend it out underneath that. And then all over 2a, which is 10. You guys probably remember this from Algebra 1. So now we get -12 plus or minus. Now we got to clean this up. It's 144 minus 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 6 is 160. All over 10. This is a PEMDAS moment where you got to clean this up first, then consider the square root. So don't take the square root of 144 right now and then the square root of 160 right now. That's going to get you off the track. So 144 minus 160 is -16 all over 10. And you're wondering, am I done? But remember, we learned imaginary numbers. So this is the same thing as I square root of 16, which is just 4i. So this turns into -12 plus or minus 4i all over 10. And you got to take a 2 out, take a 2 out, take a 2 out. And then you are done. Which, by the way, sometimes you'll see this as -6/5 plus or minus 2i all over 5, because you can just break them up into pieces, you see? But either way is fine. All right, there's example 1. These take a little while. Now example 2 is going to make us work for it. We got to distribute. So we get 3x squared plus 6x equals 4. Well, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides because remember, we got to set it equal to 0 before we identify our parts. 3x squared plus 6x minus 4 is 0. Here's my a, here's my b, here's my c. So the formula says take the opposite of b, so -6 plus or minus the square root, make it long, of b squared, which is 36, minus 4 times a times c. Don't forget the negative. So that's -4 all over 2a, which would be 6. All right, so this turns in -6 plus or minus the square root. So 36, two negatives, when they multiply together, give us a positive. Now I'm going to worry about the numbers. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48 all over 6. Which is just the same thing as -6 plus or minus. Here we go. 48 and 36 is 84 all over 6. Now the square root of 84, you can see that 4 goes into that 21 times. So we got to keep going with our stuff we've learned earlier this trimester. That would be 2 square root of 21 all over 6. Check this, check this, check this. Doesn't a 2 go into all of that? So negative 3 plus or minus 1 square root of 21 all over 3. I didn't have to put the 1 in there, but I did. And there you go. All right. So now they're going to make us work even a little bit harder. As you can see, we have FOIL. Now I'm not going to do the FOIL box. I'm just going to do the old-fashioned FOIL. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. Outside, negative 4x. Inside, negative 3x. Last 2 equals 4. Remember, we've got to set this equal to 0. So I'm going to do a few things at once. 6x squared minus 7x, when I add those together, negative 4 and 2 is negative 2 equals 0. Here's my A, here's my B, here's my C. So I'm going to plug it into that formula, which is up at the top. Let's see if I can get it in the picture. No, not quite. So, but you can look up and see it. So negative B means take the opposite of B, so now it's positive. Plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 49, minus 4 times A times C. Stem that a little bit, all over 2A, which 2 times 6 is 12. So 7 plus or minus square root. These two negatives are going to make a positive, so it's 49 plus 24 and 2 is 48. 24 times 2 is 48, all over 12. So I get 7 plus or minus the square root of 97 all over 12. So here's the deal. That cannot be broken down. 4 doesn't go into it, 9 doesn't go into it, 16, etc., etc. So this one, you're just done. All right, last one. No way are you going to plug fractions into the quadratic formula. I mean, you could, but what a nightmare. So you're going to use your old trick. You're going to look at the denominators and ask yourself, what's the smallest number that all of these will go into? Some of you would say 8, but that's too much. It'll work, but I'm going to multiply by 4. Because if I multiply that by 4, the 4's canceled, so I get x. If I multiply that by 4, I get a 12. If I multiply that by 4, 2 goes into 4 twice, and 2 times x squared is 2x squared plus. So now we can deal with this thing. Well, we got to set it equal to 0. 2x squared minus x plus 12 equals 0. Here's my A, here's my B. My B is hidden, it's a negative 1. C is 12. So if the formula says take the opposite of B right away, say, okay, it's positive 1 plus or minus square root of B squared. So negative 1 squared is 1, minus 4 times A times C, all over 2A, which is 4. 1 plus or minus square root. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 12 is 96. So this is 1 minus 96. So what's 1 minus 96? Negative 95 all over 4. Got to take the I out. So it's 1 plus or minus I square root of 95 all over 4. As you can see, some of these answers are going to be quite strange, but you'll get used to it. All right. Good luck on your homework on page 65.